Good morning, John. How are you doing?
Oh my God, good morning,
I know,
John.
the first time to ever do this live. Can you
Hold
believe
on.
it?
Oh my God, it's real. It's real.
Guys, we're really not doing this virtually. This is amazing.
This is absolutely
amazing.
incredible.
So, special edition of Thursday Mornings with John and John. So we're excited to be here today. And
What are we talking about?
yeah, I think we're talking about the weather or something. That's actually what I thought was going on.
Clouds,
right? 'Cause
stratus
it's sort of cloudy
clouds.
out there, and I thought some maybe cumulus clouds or something like that.
Is that what we're going to talk about?
Yeah, I think so.
It actually might be more. It might be more in depth. Something related to data too. So we got a specialist here, right?
We do. So we'd like to introduce Bernie Hoecker, who heads up our cloud practice inside of ISG. And we want to hear, first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to be at ISG. And then we have a ton of questions in a very short period of time, so it'll fly by, I promise.
Okay, well, first of all, it's a pleasure to be here with John and John. I'll just refer to you guys as JJ.
And live.
Okay? Live and in person. So I joined ISG about 4.5 months ago. I actually came over from IBM, where I spent many years there doing a lot of different jobs. For about the last 15, I spent my time in services. Sales, delivery, marketing, worked all around the world, multiple industries. And I actually worked on the Kyndryl spinoff, who many of you know about. I left before then, so I was still with IBM, so it'll be interesting to see how that turns out.
Sure.
But what brought me to ISG, I mean, I've worked with the company for many years. I love the people. I thought it would be a great opportunity to join the culture, and it's been wonderful. It really has been wonderful. So I'm here to talk about our cloud strategies and our initiatives, and let's get into it.
That's awesome, and welcome aboard. We're happy to have you here. So I'm going to start off, if I could, with a really basic question. So, everybody throws these words around, right, every day. What does cloud mean? And I think it would be good from a level setting perspective to really let's talk about what it means, especially as it relates to what's happening in the world today. I mean, given what's happened in the last 18 to 24 months, the world has obviously changed. And people have to be nimble, they have to be agile, you have to be able to literally turn on a dime. And obviously this is one of the enablers that helps all of us do those things. So from your perspective, in layman's terms, how would you sort of describe what the cloud means to us today in business?
Sure. You could Google cloud in terms of looking up its origins, but it's interesting because the word cloud really doesn't describe what it is. The origins actually go back, to ARPA when they created the internet and those types of things, and that very quickly turned into a manifestation of doing things remotely. Just think of it in simple terms like that. But really, during the past 5-10 years, the cloud really acts as an enabling function, a foundation. So just think of it this way. Back years ago, you had different computing environments, mainframe, client server, mobile computing, etc. Cloud is it's a facsimile of those things. It's still applications running on servers, but somewhere else. And how does it touch our lives every day? You got this thing called a cell phone. I mean, just about everything is delivered via the cloud on your cell phone. Okay? But don't forget this thing. It's all about data. It's all about applications. People don't buy machines and computers to warm their room. They buy them to go do something.
Exactly.
Same with you. You want to check the weather, you want to check the score. You don't buy this just to pay some provider $100 a month. You buy it to make your life useful and to give you information. That's really what cloud is. People get caught up in all of the mumbo jumbo and the acronyms. It's not about what's under the hood, it's about the experience. When you buy a car, you don't care about how it works underneath most people.
You
want to make sure it's safe. You want to make sure it's reliable. You want to make sure, if you want a convertible, you want the experience of driving with a convertible. That's what you buy for. And hopefully everything else works underneath. That's how I think of cloud.
Yeah, that's helpful. It's helpful, first of all. The thing is the simplicity that I think sometimes people look at, like, oh, we're gonna lift and shift. We're gonna move everything to the cloud, public cloud, private cloud, all these pieces. You wrote an article recently that I thought was really interesting with regards to Cloudophobia. Tell us a little bit why you wrote that article and kind of what are the key messages in that? Because Cloudophobia sounds to me like I'm nervous about something.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
right?
right.
So what is that all about?
Or I'm nervous and I'm not there and I should be. Right?
Yeah. So what is Cloudophobia? I like the term, first of all.
Well,
I don't know if
I coined the Cloudophobia. I'm sure it's been used before, but we all have fears.
Yeah.
I understand you have a fear of bees. We don't need to get into it right now.
I heard about that one.
But really, the article, the genesis of it was a large outage that a service provider, a hyperscaler, had back in December. Now, outages are not anything that are new. They happened before cloud, they happened before internet. But basically, the genesis of the article was to talk about when you have a phobia, how do you allay those fears out in the market? So if you're scared of spiders, what do you do to get past that? So really, cloudophobia is, if you're scared, why are you scared? And the first thing you need to remember about cloud outages is they're going to continue to happen. And it's not about finding out what the problem is. It's not about the autopsy on why it happened. But it's really preparing for the next one. Okay? Because it's going to happen. And just like you have life insurance and other safeguards on your phone, if you lose it, or if your pictures go awry, you want to have some alternative plan to get to it. It's the same for cloudophobia. So how do you cure those cloudophobia things? Yeah. First of all, you have to have a strategy. What does that mean? It's things like basic disaster recovery. Yeah. Something goes down, what's going to happen to your data? What are you going to do?
What's
the network goes out.
Yeah,
what's the backup plan?
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, what do you do while it's down? I mean, what do you do when people are trying to access, right? So
yeah, fingers crossed, probably not going to work.
Many of us heard about multi-cloud, hybrid cloud. That's using clouds in different places. Multi is different providers. So you may have your most important workloads, not even in the cloud. You may have them on-premise, and they're not going to go down probably because you've constructed it in that way. But you want to make sure you have those type of things in place. You want to make sure you architect for failure also. You got to make sure it's secure. And that comes back to data. When a cloud goes down, a lot of times people can't get to information and data. It's lost revenue, those types of things. But it's how fast can you recover? Yeah. And it's back to the customer experience. A lot of outages happen, and clients don't even know they happen. They don't even know, and that's what you want to strive for. But you got to have a strategy, you got to be prepared, and you got to plan for failure.
One of the things with cloudphobia that gets me a little nervous is when I think about my phobia in cloud would be security. Because again, it's this idea, I guess, look, we all deposit money in the bank. Now there is a risk of that money disappearing, but we've mitigated those risks. So I think some of this is the idea of knowing there might be a risk in security, but then mitigating some of that. So is that what you're talking about, this idea of just kind of knowing some of these things may happen?
Sure. Well, they're going to, if you read the headlines, there's often, ransomware attacks, malware attacks. And the first thing is most of those penetrations have happened at least 6 months prior out there. And there's a lot of bad people trying to get to data, trying to get to information. So it's happening all the time. Now, what do? You have to have a strategy. The key thing, I believe, is not just having a strategy for your cloud, but who are the other ecosystem providers? Absolutely. Let me tell you what I mean. You could have all of your ERP systems running on a cloud somewhere or on-premise. Who else is touching that data? You may outsource the records for HR to a third party. You may outsource your payment systems to a company like ADP. So those entities are in your ecosystem. They have the data.
Vulnerability.
So your vulnerabilities can come from many places. So you really need to understand who's in your ecosystem, how it works, and you may have an attack. How quickly can you recover from it? And firms like ISG and others have very good folks, consultants, products, and experience, and we help many, many clients putting together their strategies around security.
So let me tell you what we hear all the time. We hear, I think, probably one of the most common issues out in the business world isn't that maybe they haven't started cloud initiatives or that they're finished, because you're really never finished, right, at the end of the day. But most people are sort of stuck in what I call that middle area. And that middle area is, you have some initiatives, some of them have been successful, some of them maybe haven't been as successful. And what do you do to get the ones that are moving in the right direction over the finish line? When do you decide that maybe you try to salvage some of the ones that haven't been really working so well? And when do you just sort of cut bait and say, some of these we just need to sort of start over? And I think most people are in that middle space right now. Mm-hmm. And I would say that more people are trying to figure out how to get out of that middle space given what's happened in the last couple of months, because it's a buzzword. Oh my gosh, it's going to make us more nimble and agile to get us out to the cloud, and we'll be safer. We'll have more backups and contingencies and things like that. But I think, we'd love to hear your perspective on how do you discuss these things with a client or a prospect that are sort of in that middle space and trying to determine where to go.
First of all, when you talk to a client, you want to ask them, what is your strategy? Just really open-ended. What's your strategy? Now, you can do your homework.
Assuming they have one, right?
That's right. You can do your homework up front, and some of the things that I would recommend is, Google's a very powerful tool. Sometimes you can just take your client's name and put the word in cloud, and you'll be surprised what shows up. Annual reports. Section 1, which describes their business and their goals. What experiences do they want for their end users? Section 1A on risk. How many people read 1A? If you don't know what 1A is, it's the risk that they outline that they have to in their 10K. Sometimes they call out cybersecurity, they call out malware, they call out a lot of different things which give you an opportunity for sales.
So one of the things I think that's really interesting about this is that not everybody has a strategy. So what do you really do if people don't? How do you gently tell them that they don't have a strategy and that they should, right?
Yeah. Well, there's ways to tiptoe around that without picking a fight or being insulting. It's like, do you call somebody's baby ugly? You may have some indicators around that, but you just ask probing questions. How do you innovate? Does the cloud have any bearing on your strategy on speed, innovation, using advanced technologies? Ask leading questions which will firm up, and then you can set up, you have pieces of strategy, but do you really have a cohesive strategy in your cloud journey that results on business outcomes for your clients? And how are you implementing that strategy, not just within IT, but across your enterprise? And you don't need to say more, and just listen.
And then it becomes sort of self-evident, right? Then they realize that, without saying you don't have a strategy, they come to that realization. I really need to have a cohesive strategy across the ecosystem.
And I think, John, too, the thing is just it's not that simple, right? So that's why there are great providers out there, or the Bernies of the world, to think about these things and figure out.
Tie it all together.
Yeah, tie it all together.
That's the piece, because I think it's done in piecemeal. I think that's really what's happening is it's organizationally happening in piecemeal. Then they're getting a lot of people from external, sources saying things to them.
Yeah, we
you can help make sense of it all.
I would think of it this way: it is a journey, and it is a complex journey. But your strategies have to pivot. Just think about this metaphor. Think about the best vacation you've ever been in your life. Yeah. You probably didn't say the night before, "Oh, I'm going to go on vacation tomorrow." You planned for it. How am I going to get there? How much money am I going to need? But a lot of times stuff happens along your journey. Yep. You lose your luggage, something gets stolen, whatever. The same's going to happen in your cloud journey. You could have a migration gone awry.
Yeah,
you could have a lot of different problems that come up. Plan for them, learn from others, but also bring in experts.
I'm going to go on a cloud vacation.
I think so too.
Oh my God.
I think so too.
Hey, listen, we got to wrap up, but before we do, I want to make sure we hit on this second article that you wrote, because I thought it was great. The 7 deadly sins in multi-cloud estate. And one of them in particular, I won't give all 7 away, so we'll let people read the 7. But one of them was taking your eyes off the prize. So briefly, talk to us about this, because we're passionate about this area, John and I.
Sure. First of all, we're all sinners. So, the metaphor was just going to the biblical references, and what I tried to do was tie in some things that can go wrong. Yeah. The first thing you need to remember is you don't buy cloud. You become a cloud enterprise, okay? And it happens over time based upon how you want to serve your end user clients. And you have to have a strategy around those type of things. So first and foremost, you have to understand what are the business outcomes you want for your clients. What type of experiences do you want? And then how do you make those come real? Cloud is a foundation, as I said in the beginning. It basically allows your company to deliver seamlessly and easily, whether it's through a cell phone or other mechanisms, value to your clients. So you need to figure out things like, speech to text, analytics, AI, all those things, all those buzzwords. How do you deliver that to enrich your experience? Cloud allows you to do that seamlessly.
John, this is the part I love most about this, because if you think about it, it's not the answer of going to cloud. It's what our area of passion is. Is the customer experience going to be enhanced because some things go to cloud, or which cloud, or multi-cloud? I think that part of that article that you wrote is so interesting to me, because I think sometimes we get lost in the idea of the next trend is going to cloud, instead of saying, what is the customer experience and how can cloud enhance it? And I don't know if we start with that. Listen, closing up, besides reading the 2 articles and looking up, Humulus and Stratus clouds, what would you give a tip, 30-second tip? What would you give a tip to our listeners that would be a next step for them to kind of continue their journey on cloud?
Key takeaways.
Yeah, key takeaways.
Well, I would say, first of all, understand your client and what they want to get done. Forget about cloud. Okay. What business are they in? Who are their clients? Who are their competitors? What do they want to do in the marketplace? Yeah. And then are things like cloud going to enable them to get there? And how is that going to enable them to get there? Don't get lost in the mumbo jumbo, the acronyms. You don't have to know Python programming. You don't have to know all those things. Start with the very basics first. Yeah. The other thing I would say is, if you want to try to get smart on some of this, there's wonderful podcasts out there. Every hyperscaler and many of the platform providers, they have websites that are wonderful. They have classes. There's classes on LinkedIn. Podcasts are a wonderful way just to listen in. You don't have to take a lot of classes. Yeah. Try to keep current on that stuff. And believe me, it's not all mumbo jumbo. They talk about business outcomes and how cloud can be an enabler for that. So I would just encourage you not only to understand your client and their needs, but also try to be conversant in the marketplace with hyperscalers and other providers. And before now, sooner or later, you'll become a cloud expert.
Wow. Bernie, thank you so much.
Thank you for being on our show. This is wonderful. And I think this really underscores themes that we've been talking about for months, actually now a year, if you think about it, right? It's not about the technology for technology's sake. It's not about the buzzwords and the mumbo jumbo that we keep on saying. This is about solving business problems. And right here and now, it's about, what is the problem? How can I solve it? And oh, by the way, how fast can I solve it? Because if I don't solve it fast, my competitor's going to solve it faster. Absolutely. And that's when I'm going to get in trouble. That's why this is such a great enabler. And thank you for helping clarify what this means, because I think a lot of times people just assume everybody knows what all these cloud terms mean, but you've put it in great perspective for us.
You really helped us out from the personal perspective as well as our listeners, so thanks so much.
Thank you, John, and thank you, John.
Thank you.
Right. Hopefully I'll see you in person again.
Yes, that was fun. Thank you so much, and thank you to our listeners, and we'll talk with you soon for another live show.
Take care.